Hi guys, and welcome to Dice Town Gaming in collaboration with Dual Attack. We are here with Tim, Lewis, and Connor, and we're here to talk about the OTC and gonna have a chit about Warmachine. So let's go through all of you once. Let's say hello to Lewis
G'day, thanks so
and
much.
Tim and Connor. So Lewis, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, look, I've been playing since the very start of Mark 2, but had quite a long hiatus and then picked it back up during COVID. Pretty much always been a bit of a trolls guy. So Mark 4 picked up the Brown Blood Marauders. So had some reasonable success with them. Most recently going 3-1 at the OTC that we not to bury the lead. I guess we went on to win. So that's been very exciting. For the last year, bit over a year, Connor and Tim have been hard at work making exceptional battle reports. So I guess I'll hand over to Tim to introduce himself.
Oh, g'day. I'm Tim, and I have been playing Warmachine from when Lewis relentlessly hassled me to play Warmachine. But I always collected the trolls. I like trolls too. They're amongst friends here. All of us love Brian Blood Marauders. Even Connor, he just likes the frog ones.
Great taste.
But yeah, they're great. But yeah, recently I've been playing a bit of Grave Diggers. And I piloted those guys in our big Australian tournament, the OTC. That was fun, really good. I was actually the team's anchor, really, but Connor carried us. And that, I'll throw over to Connor.
Hi everyone, I'm Connor. I bought my first the Lilith and Legion starter box thing when I was 17.
I can see you being a Legion player. Yeah, carry on. Yeah, makes sense.
I did some quick maths. That looks like it was 2008, and I've sort of played on and off since then. And I don't know if I've got anything else to say. That's it. Oh yeah. Also, I don't like Brian Bloods very much, but I do love frogs.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, sure. I mean, you play Legion, you don't like Brian Bloods. It says it all, really. Funny if I played
too much whimsy.
Yeah, they are like the orcs of Warmachine. I think they're like cartoony, and if you like that, you like that, and if you don't, I get why you don't. Funny, I played a game with Frog this weekend actually, and I was playing a friend, and we were like, let's play this casual game, and I was like, sure, I'll bring Bag of the Bomb because he's like the casual is like I can do. Then I was like, turn two, I was like, I'm gonna feat, and I ran like max FA of Ballcroak because like we were playing silly stuff. And then I was like, have you got any magical weapons? And he was like, nope, and I was like, okay. Well, that's a bit unfortunate for you. My whole army's in Corporal this turn. So it turned out we're pretty brutal. But I love Bag of the Bomb. I think it's a lot of fun. So you guys are from Oz. How is the Oz meta in general? Is there any sort of trends you see in terms of cohort heavy, multi-wound heavy, etc.?
What I'll jump in. What you need to know about Australia is we're an island, and we're all over the coast of Australia, surrounded by sharks, and also on land, sharks. Just
Meta is sharks.
All of Australia's meta, full of sharks. We don't have any casual players of Warmachine in Australia.
You still read page 5 before you play, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Nice.
No, but to answer your question, I'm not sure if we're seeing like single wound or multi wound infantry trends. I think one thing that we see is definitely a trend is defenses. Like defenses are in every single list. Maybe that's the same over in the UK's meta as well. But it feels like the first question that's asked. In fact, I think on our most recent video, you hear one of the players ask, "Do you have Sapper?" And the opponent goes, "Oh," and the player goes, "Oh, great."
Yeah, Sapper is in all of my lists now. I think it's definitely a trend in the UK that because I find most of the time that that fifth card is like a niche pick that you might use in some games, whereas defenses is always useful. So like free cover, why would you not want it? Actually, ironically, in Bribe Blood, I don't take it because no one's got fucking Pathfinder. But apart from that, it's very very useful. So that's interesting. So the OTC. Let's have a talk about that and what is it?
Oh, Lewis, surely. Oh, Connor.
No, I was about to say captain. Captain.
I'm on the mic. The OTC is the Oceanic Team Championship. I always wonder how frivolously we use the term oceanic, seeing as it is realistically Australia, and Oceania is a bit bigger than that. But it's basically a team event, 3-man teams. It has been 5-man teams in the past, but it's been, my understanding is the community dipped a bit during COVID, and so we've been on kind of 3-man teams on since. Yeah, and so we played last year as well. And we played this year. This year there was 10 teams. 10 teams of 3 people, so that's 30 players. Yeah, that's that. Sorry, does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else?
And did you guys did you swap factions for the team to make a team fit, or did you guys just play what you were playing anyway and that was that?
Last year we were the Scurvy Squad, and that came from the fact that we all played pirates, which at the time Tim and Lewis were hard on pirate trolls. I didn't have a Mark IV army, and we just thought it'd be funny to be pirates, so I piloted the old school pirates, Italian Charter.
Nice.
This year I think it was much more of we all just kind of played what we were playing at the time.
And do you guys have more than one army list each, or have you all just got the one like faction?
I've got this year's the first year I've bought a Mark IV army, and which was Crix. Tim and Lewis both have trolls as Mark IV, and then Tim also has been playing diggers lately. I think Lewis, you've still only got trolls as far as Mark IV, right?
Yeah, as far as Mark IV, I have an apple in my eye for trying to off some dark operations in the future. But as far as Mark IV go, I'm still all in on the old Bryans.
Nice. And I think on the Ask Me Anything yesterday, Matt sort of confirmed that Fawnfall next year will be the same as Dark Operations this year. So we are going to get reprinted piggies next year.
That's exciting.
Yeah, which would be great. A lot of pigs. I've just forked out loads of money for Old Umbre, so I won't be playing pigs. Maybe. So you've you guys go to the OTC last year. How long has the OTC been running?
That is a great question that you should probably ask someone who knows anything about the history of the OTC.
Fair.
I think all of us last year was our first. Is that right?
No, I played the year before in Sydney. That was actually how I came to start annoying Tim, because I borrowed some Creel Warriors off him the year before. Yeah.
Nice.
I think the OTC's been running for like more than 10 years, but I think it like dipped a little bit during COVID, as did most events, right? So it sort of stopped for a year or two, I think. But it's been running a long time in Australia, I think, since Warmachine was at its peak until now, I guess.
Is it a dual system thing, or is only Warmachine present?
For the OTC, it's just Warmachine.
Nice. So you got your team together, and you went. So how many rounds is the OTC?
It was 4 rounds this year. Is it always 4 rounds?
Depends on. I think that it's as many rounds as it takes for one clear undefeated team rather. So because there were 10 teams instead of 12, we had some dropouts and some things like that. So we ended up with a 4-round event, and then some pickup games and just hanging out with all the people who came interstate. Australia's obviously not a super small place, and we did have players from Perth in Western Australia and Adelaide in South Australia, which has been really cool.
Do you have to be an Australian team to attend the OTC, or could someone fly in from America and play?
If Americans want to fly, to Australia, I've never met an American who wants to fly to Australia.
Valid. I don't want to fly to America, so that's fine. I get it. Excellent. And so, did you guys? So you have your Gravediggers, Brine Blood, Next Factorium. That was your 3. Did you create some sort of, as we all love to do, a spreadsheet of Armor Red Green matchups?
Not really. So Lewis and I kind of went through it. I think because it's 3 people, your pairing's quite simple. So we did go through and we basically thought about who do we want to put down. And I think that there was a few different factors in that, but they were normally, I guess, the safer option. And then we thought about if there were any one we didn't want to be matched up or wanted to try. Like, once again, if you've got 3 people going, sorry, actually, I might start with Aaron. Are you familiar with the way the 3 people get paired?
Well, that was going to be my follow-up question because lots of team
Oh, okay, maybe I'll start
championships
with
do
that
it
then.
differently. So yeah, if you want to describe that, that'd be awesome.
So essentially, if you think of it like it's 3 cards, right? You put 1 card down on the table, your opponent does the same, then they flip them. So there's 2 people who you know there, and then from your other 2 cards, you can lock into the face-up player or put down for the mystery player. And both teams do it. So there's only a certain number of combinations. So we didn't do like a full grid because really all you need to know is there anyone I need to dodge? Is there anyone I feel good into? Is there anyone who feels safe? And so we kind of just went through that, and it was really just like a 2 decision matrix for each team, really.
And interestingly, was there a army list you tended to put down first that you felt was safe into more things, like covered more things than anyone else?
I think once again we did this for the whole for all the teams, and then we didn't play all the teams. So there's sort of 2 answers there. I think for all the teams it ended up being Lewis and I. Is that right, Lewis?
Yeah, I think the way that we had kind of constructed the way the lists kind of panned out is I think Connor and I both had very kind of all-comers lists, all things considered. Like both our lists kind of between the 2 of them, we can pretty much handle anything. I was pretty unhappy with a lot of the matchups on the weekend, just because of the sheer Moraine density. And I don't know what happened, but every Moraine player woke up and started putting models with more than 1 attack or like units in their lists since the WTC last year. This is revelation as a Bryant's player. I'm sure you understand.
Fuck
Not
mortality,
good.
man.
Not good.
Fuck that spell. I'm with you, dude. I'm with you.
It sucks. It sucks. And when it was just like 1 big pig following up, I could deal with that. When it's 3 units, my army's gone. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
But I think we actually managed to dodge Moraine all weekend. I don't even think one of you guys ended up getting bussed into Moraine, did they?
I got Dan, but he dropped Health into me.
That's right.
Nice. Yeah, one of my Dan, like the other guy I talk to sometimes on the stream, he plays Dusk, so I get to play against them a lot, like double cats in every list a lot. But I found like I really like Firequill. I know the world doesn't like Firequill, but he's been really good into Moraine, so I've sort of solved that issue for me. Tim is exploding with joy at the
I don't know what just happened there. I think if I do 2 thumbs up, it like, oh, there you go. If you do 2 thumbs up in Discord, yeah, it gives you a firework.
But it's just not for Connor. It's just for Tim.
Oh, hang on. I think my free nitro is still going. Let me try.
You are the chosen one, Tim.
Done in.
Look, I just love Firequill
so much.
Maybe it's anytime. Oh, wow. I think you've got to pump in. Just
maybe you have to
really
have
hoping...
Firequill in your mind when you do it.
You do, yeah. That's
you
exactly
summon the
right.
spirit of Firequill. But yeah, Moraine is really tough for Brian Bloods, and I found that Firequill keeps her really honest. Like if she wants to come forward to mortality something, she's then like 13 away from that unit, and then Firequill can like effectively threaten like 20 and strip her stealth, and then just kill her. So I've had success with that, but yeah, it's tough mortality. So that's great. So a really interesting pairing process. What did you run? That would be interesting to know. If we start with Connor and go around, what did you sort of run in your list?
I ran Kythos. How much depth do you want us to go into this?
Just like high level, like Kythos plus Knight Terrace and normal support maybe.
Yeah, it was Kythos Eviscerus. My Kythos list was a bit more infantry heavy, and the Eviscerus list was a bit more jack heavy. Probably simple enough. Lewis, you can go next.
I ran a pretty beast-heavy Shadow Tongue, so with 4 heavies, 2 being Varrogas, so maybe like three and a half heavies, but 3 units of Marauders with Quartermasters, which was really interesting. It was pretty similar to some kind of Ragemonger lists that I'd run in the past, but with just a little bit more Shadow Tongue utility. I don't think I cast Gallows once on the weekend. It was much more or less about giving utility to models and making them do the work. And then the second list was just a classic anti-shooting Boom Howler and all the friends. And that still had Goo, a Reef Troll, and a Frog in it as well. So it still had a little bit of beastie punching power as well.
Nice, interesting.
Tim?
Sorry, aside Brian Blood talk. Why did you pick Goo
Oh yeah.
over Shum?
Goo was there just so that whole list was essentially like my Gravediggers being afraid of, say, like a McCoy 40k list of running up the table with all the machine guns.
McCoy is tough.
And doesn't matter how many CRAs you want to pump into an Armor 24 Goo, it's just not happening. So
Nice.
he was just there to say, you can't harpoon me, you can't small arm fires me, you're going to charge into me and trade, at least, trade roughly even. Or you're just gonna have a bad time, and I'm gonna score every turn with him.
Yeah, in that context, it makes sense. And Avenging Force makes him not so slow, right? If needed.
100%.
Right, Tim, fire away.
Yep. I ran Digger's favourite pairing, Vargas and Jakes. The Vargas list was a bit of a mixed arms list, which I'm really, really loving. It's got a bit more infantry than the lists I'm seeing online. But it's got both the character units in. They just work so well together. The
Both
B13,
amazing.
That's Connor's favourite Diggers unit. And the Cloudies.
Great,
He calls
great
them the
name for
Rowdies,
them.
but their real name is the Cloudies. And then Jake's all Jacks, basically. Just minimum chips units, just the cheap gun mage units to power the Jacks. Which was interesting. I found Vargas was the star for me, and Jake's I'm just finding is a little bit difficult to play with all Jacks. I'm finding that she's getting sort of swamped on the sides, so I probably need to look at changing my list so she can play sort of more on two fronts. She's very powerful, obviously, with synergy, but yeah, I'm finding that people are figuring out how to beat Jakes, I think. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, interesting. I think in the UK, like the big hype around Boom Boom, right? So like with say Plugger, a Valiant, and then a mixture of maybe a Commando unit, both character units, and then Rangers. So like massive assassination threat with big CRAs, Cloud Walls, Fire for Effect. I think so. Yeah, in the UK, like Boom Boom is by far. I think at the War Manchester, a lot of people played like 6 games of Boom Boom. So he's really popular. Excellent. So you played 4 rounds, we said. How did your first round go? Let's dive into that.
Yeah, I'll kick off our first round. We played the South Australia, one of the South Australian teams. I don't know if we mentioned this, but we had a team from almost every state in Australia, which is just incredible. Like really cool that everybody's willing to travel that far. But we played one of the 2 South Australian teams, and they were 3 just absolutely lovely lads. I think, sort of just still learning the game. Played so well though, part of the SA meta, and I played a lovely guy that was playing Dragon's Host, the mad lad. So I dropped Vargas into him, and unfortunately for him, Vargas is really good at shooting Dragon's Host off the table, so I just did that. How did your 2 guys' games go in the round 1?
Just to circle back quickly to the matchups on that round, do you want to briefly talk about the one consideration you had, Connor, in the matchmaking as the captain of that particular team?
Yeah, I think we put you down, which left us with me and Tim to go down, and I'm pretty sure the opponent team put their I think they put the. Oh, sorry. This is going to make bad radio. I'll give it the long and short, which is, I didn't want to play Dragon's Host. I have played Dragon's Host. I love Dragon's Host. I don't think they're particularly good, but I think they're very good at hitting, and I actually think they're super good counter to Crix. And so I was terrified of Dragon's Host. So I hard dodged them as much as I possibly could.
That's captain privilege.
Which ended in a mirror.
I did the smart thing and I got the event up. So I played Declan. Dragon's Host. Connor got the what he deserves, which is a Crixoff. And then Lewis played into Old Umbre, and there was so much Old Umbre at this tournament. Oh my goodness! And they did well.
Yeah, it's surprising actually. War Manchester, I thought, oh, no one will bother, right? Because you haven't got any Fury support at the moment. You can't even manage your Fury. I guess you just cast Primal, don't give a fuck. But there was quite a lot of old Umbre at War Manchester as well. So yeah, that's surprising. And did they do okay generally? Do you think?
Generally, they did. The team that I think came fourth overall all played Old Umbre.
Oh wow!
And said
That's
we
crazy.
don't, because we were allowing single lists. So then there were just enough casters for
Yeah,
two people to
Yana
mono list
Bodan
and
and
one
Galena.
person to have two lists.
Nice.
In that first, I can't believe how well they did. We dodged that team, thankfully. I was a little bit worried about it. It would have been an interesting game. But in that round one, I was against a lovely gentleman called Luke. He was pretty much running off like the rule, like battle box, command box kind of stuff. So he was very much there for the vibes. He still played really well, but with the tools available, it was always going to be a little bit uphill. But we had a great game.
Yeah, absolutely excellent. I have two questions from that actually. One is, how do you guys feel? I think excluding Infernals because they play for 100, they play like 135 points, so fuck them. Apart from them, how do you feel like Mark II and Mark III armies? I feel genuinely they're weaker than Mark IV. Like I feel like I play like 10 or 20% more effective than them. How do you guys feel that currently old Mark II and Mark III armies compared to Mark IV?
I think Mark IV armies that are more versatile, which means that like between the racks, they've also got all like pretty much every army has a solo with 3 abilities. Like they can do more. They're like more spread. So I think they're generally better. But where the old armies come into is every now and then they just spike in a random direction and they're really awesome at this one thing. So like that's why you saw last year the whichever that Scorn army was,
The
they can just
Exalted.
jump the armor so high.
Mm.
And yeah, even my point about Dragon's Host is they can hit so well with Animag. Animag can hit really well and do lots of damage. And so there's these random old legacy armies that can do one thing really good, and how good they are just depends on how popular the one thing they are at like doing, like how well the rest of the meta can kind of cover that or respond to it, I think.
And I think there's an element also of just not knowing what it does for some people. Like you have no idea what a lot of it does. And I think like Grimkin are a great example. You know, I only know what they do because I spent an hour studying what they did. But a friend played them recently, and it was like, "Am I playing Yu-Gi-Oh?" Like he was activating trap cards in the middle of the turn, and he had no idea what was
Yeah.
going on. And I think there's probably an element of just not being prepared. So much in Warmachine, like knowing what your opponent can do, is important. So that's interesting. Excellent. So did you all win your game round one? Like, you killed it.
Yeah. So I played. Oh, you got more thumbs up. I played into Crix. Yeah, I don't know his name. His name's just Nick Quid on Longshanks. But yeah, it was a good game as well. So
So you drop Eviscerus or Kyphos?
I put Kythos into Nicane, and I think I'm just fortunate in that I've recently played a couple of games into some of our locals with Crix. So I had like I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on the matchup, but I felt like I knew what the matchup did. I knew that the game would largely come down to who could manage magic weapons better. I knew which models had magic weapons. So I think just having that prep got me through that game, which was good.
Nice. That's one thing I really miss going from Old Umbre. Currently, I could put a Fire Guard in a list, and I feel like I've covered Crick's matchup. I wouldn't have that in Old Umbre, so that would be different. Great. So round 1, 3-0, absolute champions. On to round 2. Anyone can go.
I was just thinking, do you remember what we did for matchup, Lewis?
I think for this one, we were pretty. I think this was the one we really wanted to test Tim's metal into the Crix list. I think. I don't remember exactly who we put down, but I think we were angling a little bit for that.
I think we probably put you down then, and then we finangled it. So Tim went into Crix and I went into Orgoth, which I think was kind of a good spread in how it went out. Do you want to tell us about your game then, Tim?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm figuring out.
Tim is a fucking wizard, dude.
Gestures.
It's not Discord. It's him.
I'm pretty sure I'm a wizard.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I Yeah, I played into Eviscerus. Is Eviscerus the one that does the dig in?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so we did end up getting me into Pricks, which was a really interesting game, to be honest. I started by, you can get Juice. It's really gross, but he's got a 20-inch threat with Vargas because of Fleet.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, my opponent sort of probably didn't realize that and did the Eviscerus thing on turn 1 and camped nothing. So I went for the 2 shots with Juice on Eviscerus, and I missed one of the shots. So it was a failed assassination that I probably shouldn't have gone for. And then I had to scramble to win on scenario. So it absolutely did test my mettle, for sure.
Nice.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I
Sorry,
can
I distracted you with the confetti. You can do wizard stuff on Discord, I'm finding out in this chat. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's
For
visually
anyone
impressive.
listening on an audio only medium, that's going to be super good. I could probably go next then, in terms of our rundown, which is I played into Horus. I played Kythos into Horus, and I've been having a lot of fun with Grendor lately. And the game was a lot of can Grendel kill God, and Grendel can kill God. So Grendel tore through with a bit of help from some Night Terrors, but he tore through a Galgast with the +2 armor spell and Horus feat, which my opponent just didn't expect at all. And I think that just like his whole game plan, from what I managed to figure out, was revolved around that Galgast, and it being gone at the end of turn 2 just threw a spanner in the works. I almost threw the game away by just not remembering how color guard worked and not scoring the flag and then having the flag move somewhere. But then my opponent made kind of a similar mistake in forgetting how far away units and models contested flags. So I kind of gave me an opportunity to pull myself back in and get ahead on that game.
Nice. Lewis, how about you?
Yeah, look, I was up against Ian, who's a very, very competitive player from South Australia. So I knew I feel okay in the matchup. So it was Jake's into Boomhowler. I did think about dropping Shadow Tongue, but I think like the ablative shooting, like there's just little bits and pieces that you even just having a random Jake's list just is too much to not have like a Boomhowler feat and Arc 7 Rough Seas behind you and that kind of thing. And that was the only list I had the Boomhowler solo in as well, just to, kind of cover my bases. I think it was a really good game, good back and forth. I think it went all the way to turn 6 or 7 and basically ended because the 3 Lockabash, one with Storm Rager, managed to just own a Valiant, just took it down from 100 to 0. After that Valiant, to be fair, rolled a lot of hard 7s in pigs that were trying to hold him down, but that's all right. He got his comeuppance. And it's always really nice being able to say, yep, power 20.
Yeah, power 22 if you Storm
what's that
Razor
about?
one. Even better.
Yeah, sadly I didn't get all the buffs on them that turn,
Yeah.
but the fact that they can get to power 22, that really got the whole South Australian team pretty upset. That was good mental damage, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know if we mentioned we played the second South Australian team in our second.
absolutely conquering South. Do you own South Australia now? Is that how that works?
That's right. Yeah.
Sick, nice. I'm talking to Lords. Yeah, I played Matt Hart the other day, and he was playing like it was a Mortenebra heavy list, and I was playing like Mordecai spam, and like Lockabash charged, and we're like power 20. And Matt was like, "Wait, you got that wrong," and I was like, "No, man, like you get a +2, +2, +2, +2," and he was like, "I'll take a look at that." I was like, "Don't look at them. They're fine." Follow-up questions from your that round. So I generally feel to Connor that Cricks answer Horus really well, right? You out-threat them, and there's no armor that Cricks can't kill. How do you feel about going into Orgoth or Sea Raiders?
Well, this was a great test because I'm pretty sure I hadn't played Orgoth all year. But I have generally agreed with you on principle. I think Cricks do numbers really well if you need to break armor or to hit or whatever it is. they can do it. And given that Orgoth, his defense is armor, like I'm generally pretty confident. Like if I were playing into Lacant or any of those other armor based casters, I would feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I think like diving Darts, Power of Death, and then Calamity, and then you're dead. Especially with Finisher and a Night Terror as well. Awesome. And then second question, because we spoke about a Gargast with Inviolable Resolve, how do you guys feel about Blessing of the Gods as a card? Because I feel like essentially that there is no way to set up a model that's in a defensive position with a spell because it's always just negated with Blessing of the Gods. How do you feel about the Blessing of the Gods?
I don't like it. Like just on, I don't like it on principle. I feel like it's too much of a crutch. But I feel like the game needs to be balanced slightly differently for it to be removed.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's an ecosystem thing. So, like for example, that particular model, the Galgeist with the +2 armor, because it often is magic immune as well. Any normal tech to remove that spell is pretty much gone. The only real exception is potentially like a sniper team from Dusk, that kind of thing. But even then, they do have guards available in faction, things like that. So I don't know. I think it's tricky. I think the game is definitely in a better place for having it at the moment. I think is my very lukewarm take. But I think it's more about being able to play about, because I'm sure you get this too. But I love casting Fortify on the second model. That first model with Fortify will get owned by, and for me it's like trying to make sure that that's like the dinky Reef Troll that they need to overinvest in because he happens to be armor 22 to melee and that kind of thing. But then there's a Deepborn right behind him. Now you don't have Blessing of the Gods.
Yeah, and I think that's the most effective way to use a spell at the moment. Like I ran Ragemonger with two armor 25 dudes with Fortify and Chum. And it's like, well, you fortify one of them and one dies, and then you have to play through the rest of it. So if you've got a spell, you can apply it more than once. Is the best way. How about Tim? How do you feel about Blessing?
I think I'm probably in Connor's camp. I agree. It's very hard to feel satisfied when you cast a defensive spell on a model when somebody can just negate it very quickly. But Lewis is right. If it was taken away, there would be certain combos that would just run the game. So it's challenging, isn't it, from a design perspective? I think it probably is a necessary evil at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. It kind of fixes a problem that we would like to not have, but we do have.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a problem that is a self-created problem that they've also fixed at the same time. I can understand that perspective. Excellent. So, did you all win round 2 as well?
All right, Aaron. Just before we move on, did you have a take on Blessing of the God?
Yeah, I don't like it. And I think it's just that typically I find you need 1 or 2 good turns to really secure a game-winning position. So then in that, say you only need 1 turn, that 1 turn you use Blessing of the Gods to kill that key model is all you need, then it almost feels like, what is the point of having that spell in the first place? So unless I have, multiple targets that I think people will need to Blessing of the Gods through, everyone always has it. So is it worth racking Fortify just to have it negated for the turn that they're going to push into the scenario and win? But like you say, I suppose the current state of the game, and the numbers you can create, maybe it is needed to stop sort of hard combinations. And I think if you just flat remove it, you probably need to look at a few things like armor 25 heavies in Brine Bloods or etc.
No, they're fine. Don't worry.
I agree. I do agree. Excellent. So
you didn't mention any Valiants.
Yeah. That's much of the same, right? Just extremely high armor models. But and the game is so lethal that I find it's hard. You need, even with these extremely high armor values, sometimes it still doesn't feel enough. But Blessing sort of compounds that, right? So you get, I've got this sort of skewed number. Be like, oh no, wait, you haven't, because I blessed it away. So, cool. Right, let's go on to, because I think we're going to talk about it. I've got a few like Brucey bonus conversations to have at the end, which I think will be like spicy. So we'll get through the OTC and then we'll do some spices as well. So so far we're 6-0 as a team. I'm now part of the team. I'm a spiritual companion. What do we play next into round 3?
Now, round 3 was our most controversial round because cards on the table, we actually probably should have lost this round because technically 2 of us did lose, but my opponent conceded. So he could not play the following day. So he decided to concede, giving me the win, which was interesting. But I'll let Lewis talk about it. I played round 3. We played a really tough team. They are all 3 tremendously good players.
All 3 WTC winners.
Yeah, all 3 WTC winners. Very, very good players. And I played a Legacy army. I don't really know a lot about Scorn, which was interesting. And I played Jake's, and he totally, what I talked about earlier, totally swamped me, came around the sides, and I could not operate on the flanks. It was really interesting. I held my own with Scenario, but it was an interesting game. I won by concession, but I'm really interested to hear your other Connor and Lewis's perspectives.
For the record, win to win, baby. Great win, Tim.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you should go next, Lewis.
All right. So this was a recorded game. We had a Dual Attack stream on. And look, me and Chris are great friends. We played many very good close games. It was the most nonsense loss I've ever had in my entire life. And I got a little salty on stream. And I'm excited for the world to see that.
Excellent. I have a great story of when I got really angry in the tournament, and I'll tell you after. We can share.
Oh, please do. So basically, I went up, I think, 8 on Scenario, and I then placed myself to the millimeter within 18 inches of Kruger into Wintercore. And in order to kill my caster, you had to remove 2 heavies with a basically with a string a paper dream, and he proceeded to remove the 2 heavies trivially. Rolled a hard 10 or 11, hellfiring my caster to give him the damage he needed to roll good Kruger.
Wow. And the lesson there is get good
the game was done. So no, look, if I was 18.1 away, it wouldn't matter. But in the moment, it did not feel good.
Yeah, and for everyone to enjoy that glorious moment, because it is glorious, where would they find that? Where can they watch that back?
That'll be on the YouTube channel Dual Attack. That'll go live in, I expect, 2 weeks, or are we expediting those, Connor?
No, it'd probably be 2 weeks. Yeah. So the first one came out, I mean, we're recording this on Friday the 12th, so our first video came out this week, so yeah, 2 more weeks.
Excellent.
Right.
Everyone
keep
should
your
check
eyes
that
peeled.
out.
This'll... Yeah.
Awesome. Connor, how did your game round 3 go?
I played into Dan. So he was one of the WTC winners from last year. He played Heleth. I played Eviscerus. It was I made a few mistakes. It was generally a pretty tight game, but I was losing. I was just progressively losing as the game went on. I was doing my best to hold in. I realized at some point, 5 minutes into his turn, that he was on my clock. So I lost 5 minutes there, which it sucks, but it's kind of, my understanding is clock management is both people's responsibility. So that kind of sucked. But Dan quite kindly, when it clocked back to me, clocked back, like put it on him and then said he'd set a 5 minute timer. So he kind of gave me the 5 minutes back. So, and that probably won me the game. I essentially won I was just losing progressively, but at a certain point, I had one malefactor with an axe on so few damage points that Heleth came in and tried to finish it off and failed. Heleth left the malefactor on a single box of damage. And once again, this is a time thing because he only had a minute left. So he kind of went for this and it finished up and clocked back to me. And at that point, Heleth was close enough to that malefactor that I could Old Faithful it, Ghost Walk it, use red line, and just walk straight through and just kill Hella. So that's how I managed to sneak my way out of that game. So it was super close and super fun, and Dan was a great opponent.
Nice. I suppose Helif has got, a semi answer to the Kaifor's feat in her feat. Then also Dusk have quite a few magical weapons / arcane attacks splattered around. So not a bad matchup there. So my story, it was like with 2016 in Welsh Masters. I was like a bit younger then and maybe a bit more of an ego. I wanted to win more, maybe. So I had really practiced like for a year, and I was playing Circle in Warmachine Mark II. And Legion was a bit of a nemesis, right? Because I have clouds and they don't matter, and I could play Cassius and make a forest, doesn't matter. So I played a lot into Legion, and Veil 2 was like my nemesis. I just couldn't beat her. And then I played a few games, I beat her like locally, and I was like, I'm fucking ready, dude. The Welsh Masters is mine. So I get to Welsh Masters, round 1, I get paired against Veil. And I'm like, oh, well, if I'm going to beat her, I'm going to beat her round 1, no problem. So I was like Kruger 2, and on my turn 2, I had feated aggressively to like get really head on scenario. I had clouds down. I was like, this is going so well. And through a chain of events, you got like 2 sprays on Kruger. I had 1 transfer, and it was like, you need to roll 16 twice, because I'll transfer 1 if you don't get a 16. Basically, like, I got hit for 16 twice and died. So I slammed the table, said, this is bullshit, really loudly, everyone heard, and walked out.
It was bullshit.
It was bullshit, right? I'd like Rocky montage.
It sounds like bullshit.
And then that's people. That was my moment. There was like 100 people in the hall all heard me shout, "This is bullshit," and walk out. So, emotionally, I've moved on from that point. Mentally mature, I'm not sure. Excellent. So that was technically 2 losses, 1 win, but the concession means it's 2 win, 1 loss. So now, are you paired into another team that's only 1, or was there a pair down that you played?
Okay, so there was a mild controversy into round 2 because we were the team that got paired down.
Right.
But into team 3, it was all good from there on because our strength of schedule was a bit weird and Longshanks from round 1.
Okay.
But we paired down round 2, paired normally round 3, and then round 4 was the final.
So round 4, you were the 2 undefeated teams remaining in the event. Were you? I know we don't really care about winning until we do. Were you nervous at all for the final? Did you feel like any pressure on? Did you really want to bring it home, or were you still relaxed?
It was a very high stakes game because we were the 2 content creator teams for the weekend.
Oh shit!
So the most important thing is that we came out with content.
Because not only do you now own South Australia, you then own content in Australia if you win it as well.
Well, that's right. Have you heard of hit podcast The Business?
I have. They love.
We now own that.
A guy from the UK,
that's our
right?
proprietary.
Yeah, nice. Right, they've got Tom Wiggins. They love Tom Wiggins.
Yeah, that's
You've
right.
got Aaron
That's
Wilson.
right.
So, and now we own them.
Yeah.
So we can subsidize that. Excellent, awesome. You're round 4 into those guys. Where did the pairings go with that one?
What did we do? I think we put me down and put Lewis. So we put me down. They put Jay down. So Jay was on Chimera.
Mm-hmm.
I think we wanted to get Lewis away from Signar, so we put him into Jay, which ended up with me into Matt, which was Umbre, and Tim into Josh on Signar. Of this, I was not super happy going into Matt, but I took one for the team. I don't know. Tim, you can go for a bit. I'm talking for a bit.
Yeah. I played Josh from The Business. He is a little known player in Australia. He's all right. We had a good game, really good game. He ended up getting the win. And it was really interesting. There was a little bit of secret that Connor let me in afterwards. He played Wolf. I dropped Vargas. And Wolf feed is interesting. It really makes you feel out of control. It lets them feel in control. But Connor pointed out the way to shut it down, this is some hot tech, is that you just knock down their heavies, right? So sort of realised how to play that matchup after I played it, which wasn't very helpful. But no, I had a fantastic game against Josh. I actually really love Josh here in Australia. Does a lot for the Warmachine community, and obviously you've heard the business. He's such a humble guy. So yeah, it was a good game.
Is that Josh Bates?
Yeah.
Is that
Yes.
it? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that name
No,
from
I'm just
Warmachine
kidding.
Mark II, let alone.
It's definitely Josh Bates. Yeah.
Yeah. You go.
I
Lewis.
think that's interesting as well, Tim. That's kind of the opposite thing to Connor having the Cricks mirror matchup, because like I think it's hard to overstate how important like having reps into something is to understand those like minor but important things in those kinds of matchups. Like if Connor wasn't thinking about who had magic weapon, those kinds of things would be pretty easy to throw that as well. So it's something for you to think about moving forward.
Right, so Lewis, who did you play?
Look, events like this are really great for playing people that you've never played before, getting insight into what a broader player pool looks like. Jay, despite being part of our local meta, we've never played a game together. So this was our first ever game, and it was in the finals of the OTC. We had a blast. We had a great time. There were some like candids taken. We're both beaming from ear to ear. We both had a great time.
Nice. So what leader did you play, and what did you play against, like leader wise?
So it was Shiris Trike into my Shadow Tongue list. And look, it was on two fronts, and I think realistically, it was a really, really hard matchup on that table, particularly because with the Trike and all of its support, that's half your list. You can't be playing two flanks at the same time. So I was top of two, able to get up pretty hard on two fronts. So I went 6-0 on
That's
the
the
top
dream.
of turn
You
two.
double dipped, right? You double dipped.
I double dipped. And to be honest, the only way you could have stopped that would be like throwing away a Scylla or putting the Trike in a really conservative position. And that some may say it's probably better to do that than to lose the game, but I can see why he didn't feel natural to do that.
Was he running Ravin as well? With Mortal Fear?
No.
Okay,
So
yeah.
he didn't quite go the full grid.
I don't think it's worth it, but it's interesting if you did or not.
No, see, I think like the extra unit of lashes is always worth it personally. I think it's that Moraine list mentality. Like I think it's generally better to have more things in your list than less.
Yeah. I played into
but it was a
Archetype
really
lot
really wonderful game.
of the say like Trike with Belial, a Viper for Hunter's Mark, some Shadow Manchers, right? The same thing, and then two Lasher units, right? And Skylar. So what I found against that is like initially when I was trying to play it, I was like, this is fucking impossible. I can't kill the Trike. I just can't do it. But then sort of moving on from that, I was like, okay, what if I just kill Skylar and the Lashes? You're left with a Vipex and a Trike, essentially. Sorry, not a Vipex, a Trike and a Vipex, yeah. And so when you're playing like Form, Royal Crew, and Lockerbash, any of them kill Skylar and Lashes. And then you play the scenario, and I've had success approaching it that way. Because I just can't kill a Trike. Connor, how was your game? What did you play, and what did you play against?
Yeah, it was good. To go back to one of your earlier questions about the nerves, it was kind of interesting in that we were playing local. So I was playing Matt. Matt's a great person, and I love playing them. And so I was excited to play them, but I was nervous. It was the finals. I have that kind of shaky jitteriness that you get where you're like, you're excited about it. So. And we played on stream, so that'll go up on Dual Attack later as well, so people can check it out. But yeah, I played Kythos into Bodan. And kind of as per my earlier comment, I don't think that's a good matchup for me. I think Insight just is such a cracked spell that it just really pushes. Sorry, did a bit of a burp there. Anyway, so yeah, we did a bit of positioning and a bit of posturing, and I got to pick a build. Like I got to pick sides. So I went second, and I picked a side that disadvantaged him, so that there was a building in the way. So some things were going well there, and I think partway into probably his turn 3 or whenever it was that it was his turn after I feated, I think he probably felt a bit of the pressure. maybe time-wise and event-wise and everything else like this. And he saw an assassination vector, and he went for it. And I think it was probably a mistake. And partway through, due to the way the events kind of worked out, he one of the primevals so he had 3 primevals with spears, right? So they've got the crit slam stuff going on, and he had this assassination vector that involved using one of them to slam a Criterion into Kythos, knocking him down and hopefully shooting him to death. And a sludge thrall exploded and took out the spirit of the primeval, which kind of turned the assassination off, in my opinion. And I think he didn't quite have the ability to pivot out of it. So he went all in on this assassination, which ended up not working, which just left me with all the time in the world to just dunk on anything and score as many points as I wanted. So that's essentially how the game ended up going. So yeah, you can catch that on Dual Attack later.
Nice. So it was 2-1. Did you win, Tim? Or am I discrediting you?
No. Bates won against me.
Yeah, sorry. So it's 2-1. So that means you are the winners of the OTC. So congratulations, first of all, to all of you. That's a fantastic achievement. When you sort of reflecting on the games, do you have any sort of overall thoughts? Did any of you play one of your leader in every game? And how do you feel like you guys played in general? Obviously, you won so well.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think for me and Connor, we are, not that I sort of want to give it away, but we're playing in the WTC this year on Australia's Team 3, and it was a bit of a, like, it's OTC is sort of our biggest countrywide team event, so it was fun to take sort of a run at that with lists that will be probably similar to our WTC list, and I got a lot of insight into my pairing and my lists and how I felt into certain matchups. And I think as a result of that, I'll make some pretty robust changes to at least one of my lists, which is just so valuable when you're prepping for a big tournament. I loved it. I think the bit that I wasn't expecting out of OTC was that was extremely valuable was playing at a high level, like in the finals. I think Connor's right. I think I was pretty relaxed, but I'm sort of a happy-go-lucky sort of guy. But yeah, for sure, it was good to play in that environment and still feel good about performing. I don't think any of us made any really pivotal mistakes. Like, none of us just got randomly killed, other than Lewis, obviously. So that was good. That was really good.
Nice. I think I think team events are like just so much fun. But that extra level of banter, playing a team and being with a team and the camaraderie, and they're excellent. So will the OTC be running next year? I assume it will.
122%. Yes, it will.
And I assume you guys are going to reunite, get the band back together for next year?
Yes, 100%. If all things go to plan, we might even be live streaming it. So that would be very fun.
That would be awesome.
Very cool.
That would be really, really good. Well, fantastic. So congratulations, guys, on your winning of the OTC. It sounds like you all contributed to the team wins, and that's fantastic. And it's a really great achievement. So well done. And thank you for talking about it with me. We're going to talk about non-OTC stuff now, because we've got loads of questions, which I'll talk about Warmachine. And the first one is spell rack. It's been like, I posted videos, and then I didn't realize that on the Ask Me Anything, Matt was asked, was there one thing that you sort of would change or regret? I don't know what the wording was about Mark IV, and he answered spell rack. So that's really interesting. I suppose like my standpoint on spell rack is, and it might be because I come from Mark II, and maybe if you come in at just Mark IV and only played with spell rack, you don't have this opinion. But in Mark II, I felt a lot of identity was in a leader's spells, and you'd also look to a leader partly because of their spells to answer something, right? So if Kruger's got Stormwall, for example, Kruger 2 had Stormwall, he was a great anti-gunline caster because he had Stormwall. And similar to Rough Seas, I would pick Rough Seas, but now in the situation in Brian Bloods, I could just rack Rough Seas. So all of my casters in a way can answer a gunline, and I think it's partly to play why in recently we had War Manchester in the UK, and David, he's an excellent player. He could probably win with anything, but he played Sea Raiders and played Horus 6 games in a row. And I think a lot of players are actually looking through the event played the same caster for 6 games in a row. And I think partly because the spell rack lets you be so flexible. I think also it probably adds to the lethality of the game when everyone, Necrotorium all have Carnage. So all their armies are very accurate because they all have access to Carnage and Calamity and Scything Touch. So every leader in Necrotorium can do an armor swing. So I think it adds to lethality. And I think maybe we lose a bit of originality from leaders when they're sort of all rack the same spells. But I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on the spell rack. We can round robin it.
Why does the spell rack need to be shared through the entire army? I don't hate the idea of a spell rack. And I understand probably this is like it's a design, like how much effort you're going to put in. But like, I agree with you in that it's a bit interesting that every single caster can access the same pool, which means everyone kind of becomes homogenized a bit and the same, good spells always end up being taken. But if each caster had 2 spells locked in and then like a list of 4 that they could pick 3 from or something like I don't hate it as an idea, but I do agree that its implementations are a bit warped in how it kind of affects things.
So you're thinking there should be like, my identity is tank almost, and my identity is support, and my identity is like something else, and like maybe there's similarities between like those 3 archetypes, or do you think it maybe is locked into individual casters?
Just imagine if if you've got a caster and they've got a nuke spell, like a damage spell, but you can pick like out of 3 different damage spells, but it still has to be a damage spell or something like that. So it gives you that flexibility, because that's what the rack does, right? It gives you this flexibility and this feel that you're in control as the player and you can make decisions. But by being wrapped over the faction, it's you just pick the same stuff.
So you're almost looking at it more as like a skill tree kind of thing that you do before the game, like, picking your abilities beforehand. Like, yeah, no, it's interesting.
I find I rack the same spells almost every game, if I'm honest, Aaron. I like, and even the thing that frustrates me, and maybe this is just a Gravediggers specific thing, but there's probably examples in other armies, but you have to pick your rack spells before you roll to see who goes first. So in Gravediggers, for example, I rarely rack Rhythm of War with some like most casters, because if I go second, it's sort of a dead spell for me, because I'm sort of racking it to use on the first turn and get all the way up there. And again, there's probably examples of other ones, but like it just feels a little bit clunky. So I just end up racking, the same 2 or 3 spells every sort of game anyway. Which that sort of, I don't know, that takes away from me what it's supposed to do. So I guess I'm in your camp. It is just a bit weird. I can see the idea of it, I guess. I like the idea of it, like Connor. But it's in practice. I don't think we're probably playing like it was intended to be designed, maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It also goes back to that original... Remember we were talking earlier about whether or not Blessings of the God can be taken out? It's really hard to take that out if every single army has a +2 armor spell on their rack.
Yeah, that's completely valid. I think maybe, at a compromise, I wouldn't mind if, say, for example, in Sea Raiders, say you have like your 10 spells, and each war leader has access to say like 4 or 5 of them spells. So Auriax has access to Carnage, for example, and maybe Silence of Death. Horus can get Inviolable Resolve, but he doesn't have Carnage and Silence of Death on his selection, right? So if you want to get your higher mat, you can't then reach for Horus, as in the same vein you can reach to stack your armor or need anti-tough. And maybe that would be a compromise where you still have this. Because I think generally the reaction I've got is people do quite like even if it's an illusion of choice, they do quite like the choice of being able to pick their spells. So if there's a compromise of you still get to pick something, but not everything, maybe that would be some sort of happy middle ground.
Yeah.
Well, for what it's worth, I really like the Brian spell rack. I feel like I use dissimilar, over the weekend, I think the only spell that I would have racked in most games was Fortune. And that was mostly a result of my matchups more than anything. I don't always rack Fortune. And that was with Shadow Tongue, who probably gets maybe less use out of the spell rack than most people, I'd argue, because I'm taking him to cast Gallows and Ghost Walk and all these things each turn. I really like it. Even things like Open Fire has really fun cases. Varogas especially, they can go up and then a random town. I think if more, I think maybe even just looking at it and just being, I think reducing the power of the spell racks would probably be a good move in general. Like obviously some spells are just incredible. Other spells are just fine. Some spells are whatever the puddle one is on the Brine's rack.
Tide Pool.
Tide Pool, that's right, as opposed to Tides of War, that's right.
Yeah, there's a bunch of spells on racks that feel like they should be caster defining spells.
Sure, yeah, and I feel like I think standouts to me are like Carnage, right? Or I think Rough Siege is another example. I don't think every caster should be able to cast Rough Siege. Fury Strength, right? We can tell every caster can have more Marauder Crew go to power 17. I think those sort of spells do almost give a leader an archetype of a list, whereas at the moment they can all do that. And I think I agree, Lewis. I think the Brian Blood spellbreak is actually one of the best ones in the game. I think apart from maybe Tide Pool, because you can just take Spirit Shamans and do a massive area of Shallow Water. They're all pretty good. Even Nerf Powder Keg. If you've got a third spell slot and you don't want anything else, sometimes just throwing a boosted Powder Keg is not bad. Yeah, so I think
I love Powder Keg just for a random Moriarty one, and it's like Moriarty. What's she gonna do? Actually, a huge AOE attack out of nowhere.
Yeah, and then hit in like a 80mm or 120mm with a crit on that, like with Ragemonger especially, is can be really effective. Cool. So I think spell rack's really interesting, and I think I didn't expect it to be due to change, but with Matt's comment on the Ask Me Anything, I think it probably is due for change. So that's really interesting. Next up, about the sort of Warmachine as a holistic view, the lethality of the game is something we found locally is really brutal, right? I will sort of feel that Mat 6 is a baseline, and Mat 7 you got to like, okay, you're like, so like a Doom Reaver is Mat 7, and a Winter Corp is Mat 6, and then maybe your caster is Mat 8 because it's an elite warrior, okay, right? Whereas I feel now, like, and Brian Blood is a great example, like I played my buddies the other day, and I was like, oh, these Marauder Crew are Mat 10. And he was like, Mat 9, and they were Rat 10. And they were like, what, sorry? And I was like, yeah, because I'm Gang, and I've got Stormjaw behind me. Then I shot something, I'm actually Rat 13, because I've got a Vroga here, and a Pig Dirge here, and I've mini-feated. And it's like, so I feel like, and then Power, similarly, I think is, powers are really big. Like the Trike get to power 26, Marauder Crew power 17. Wyverns lift off things casually. I think that the lethality of the game we found is really high. And rather than sort of piece trade in the sense that, I'm going to put this Warjack here and it might survive, it's like I'm going to put this Warjack here, and if it is in range of this thing, it's going to die. It's not a question anymore. How do you guys feel to that statement?
Yeah, I think you're just right. I think we're in the state of the game where it's extremely lethal. So it just means you have to play very differently to maybe the experience of old, where you use the strategy of you can't kill everything. If I put here and here, next turn I'm going to be able to make some plays. Whereas now more often than not, the only time I feel remotely comfortable about putting a Jack in a spot is with Vargas that's arcane shielded, under feet, that can't be knocked down, with a rock wall in front of it, and even then I'm like, oh, you might get it. So yeah, it's interesting. I just think it makes you play differently, Aaron. So whether it's a good or bad thing, that's up to you. I think you're right though. If it was less lethal, you'd play it differently. So is that sort of what you're getting at? You would prefer it to be maybe less lethal? That would be a huge, how would you even do that?
Yeah, so I suppose you're right. So to qualify that, I think you're right that if it's less lethal, you do just play it differently, right? Because at the moment, you never walk into someone's threat unless you're accept it's going to die. Like I run some boarding party into here and it's dead. Great. Or you out threat someone and they've got to manage that problem, right? But I suppose, like you say, if it's not so lethal and you can sort of trade, you just play it differently, and that might not be worse or better. I suppose what and actually I'll ask it. This is the next question, but you're right. It's not necessarily worse. It's just different. I suppose my question was, do you find the guy? Because I made a video about this and someone in a comment said, "Oh, I don't find the game very lethal." So I wonder if maybe it was like a local thing to me rather than a global thing. So I was wondering if you guys experience the same thing of extreme lethality in the game at the moment.
I think reliability is higher than it's ever been in the game, and I think part of that is resources as well. Models have far more attacks than they ever have in the past, and being able to resource those attacks has become a lot easier too. And that's because of things like Carnage being pretty available to a lot of casters as well. But the fact that a Jack can reliably be loaded all the way up every turn without caster intervention in almost every army with trivial investment makes a big difference as well. Like there's no longer the thing like my whole turn is fully loading a Jack. My heavy warjack fighting God, that's great, but that'll be my whole turn. These days Grendel fighting God charges for free. I've got a unit that can do it. Even only 2 of them need to empower it. And then I'm upkeeping for free. So like this guy is gonna kill a Galgast, and it's gonna be with no investment from my caster whatsoever. Maybe he'll cast Carnage, so I'm at 10 on all my initials. I think that makes a huge difference too, and the prevalence of dual attack I think makes a big difference as well. Like the
Everything
fact that
has
so
dual
many
attack.
things everything just has an ablative gun. Everything has he made you. I shoot it twice in the head. Like that's the reality of the game at the moment. I think like lethality is definitely up, and lots of things can hit really high powers. I think like making that more caster gated, kind of get back to the rack thing is probably a solution to that. But I don't think that's like I think the resources and general efficiency is a bigger problem than just high power.
Yeah, I think Lewis hit on one of the ones I was going to do, which was I think the way they've made dual attack pretty much on everything means that everything has a melee attack and a gun attack, which means most units have double the number of them attacks they make from the previous edition. The other thing I would say is the way unit movement works means that if a unit gets into combat, the whole unit gets into combat. So I just think that the volume of attacks and the way that units can engage has gone up. That's probably my top pick on the lethality thing. One thing I will just mention too, and this goes back to the previous comment about casters and stuff like that as well, is I do think the game's kind of more fun in a lot of ways. Like I think casters not having to spend the whole turn allocating focus and then just like being a paperweight is cool. I think warcasters and warlocks have more cool abilities, but the problem is all those cool abilities make them do more, make the army do more, which it pumps up lethality. So I think it kind of trickles into itself.
I think that's a great comment and probably valid, right? People probably do want their leaders not to be like, I start my turn, upkeep 2 spells, allocate 4 focus, and pass my turn. You're probably right. It's more fun that you get to do. You have resources to do that and then do stuff with your leader. So I think that's completely valid. And you comment.
And it's super fun for Grendel to fight God too, right?
Absolutely.
It's super fun to charge one model into a gargantuan and then remove it from the.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that with Primevals. That's gonna be good. So next question, and Connor touched on it like an absolute pro, is unit movement, right? That's something that whenever I ask someone, they like, I fucking hate it, or they're like, it's great. And I'm sort of like, I think there's pros and cons, and I just sort of get on with it, like play the game, they're the rules. How do you guys feel about unit movement in the sense that it's very abstract, right? It tends to mean that, like you say, whenever you start something, all your models get there. Explaining it to the new player, I find very difficult when they explain why does it work that way. I'm like, because it does work that way. You move and you place your models. That's how it goes, right? There's no real logic behind that. And I feel some people love that, some people hate it. Where are you guys at with unit movement? The wizard has.
Sorry, for the audio medium, I just set up some fireworks. I'm a big fan of it. I really, really like it. I think it allows you to do lots and lots and lots of things. Far too many. We could probably have a cast just on unit movement, to be honest. And I take your point that it could be confusing to a new player. I think right at the start of this edition, it took us all a little bit to get used to it, and we still get a million questions about when you make a charge and you place your models, who can attack who, and which guy charges who, and can I do a charge attack on this guy? And that's fine. It is a little bit confusing, but I think about the last edition had all sorts of confusing rules. We had arcs, and we had backstrikes, and we had like free attacks and stuff. I find the new way of unit movement is just so much quicker. I remember playing in Mark III and just being like terrified that I hadn't placed a unit correctly of 10 dudes because like one would be facing just the wrong way, or someone would be blocking someone else, or yada yada. So I find the movement has just sped the game right up. It's much faster. It feels intuitive once you get used to it. So I'm a big fan of the unit movement, but I take sort of your point, Aaron, on it can be a bit clunky sometimes.
I think also, Connor, you go.
Oh, I was going to say the old unit movement as well. You moved each model independently, but at least in my experience, most people didn't properly measure every single model. You'd measure like the front view, and then you and any kind of movement that encourages people to actually not to potentially accidentally be cheating or putting models in the wrong place or whatever it is, probably isn't a great system. Sorry, I'll pass back to you, Aaron.
No. I was just going to say, Tim, I do think it's much easier. Once you do understand it, it's much quicker and it makes the game almost cleaner in a way once you understand all the nuance of it, because it's you've got BB too. That's it. The only thing I would say I maybe dislike is that it's very hard to screen models, right? Unless you can physically stop someone jumping over your base via placement, it's very hard to sort of actually screen stuff. And I suppose I would like something in place to maybe help that, but it's hard to do with and also coming from Brian Blood, having to learn when half your models are knocked down at the start of it and some aren't. That was a real another hurdle to learn about the interactions between that right from the get-go. But I do agree that it does certainly make the game cleaner and more abstract, and it's very black and white. Excellent. So I think we're coming up for about an hour and 50 minutes. I've got one big question. Maybe we'll end off about an hour and a half. And I think it's a really tough one. I'm going to make a video about it, actually. It was come from a Reddit post, actually, but I've experienced it myself. And there was a new guy that he had played 10 games, and he was really enjoying it. And you play your first 10 games, and you're coached, and someone says, "Oh, we're going to play a demo game, and you move here, I move here, great." And then he was like, "Right, and now I want to play the game, right? I don't want you to tell me what to do. I just want to play the game." And so he had played now 23 games, post demo games, and he's still getting fucked, right? He's not winning, he's getting rolled over. And I thought, wow, I want to reply to this guy saying, I'm going to write something really insightful and say, and you know what? I just thought I couldn't think of anything, right? And I think that is how it is with Warmachine, right? Once you say, I want to play the game, and you don't want to be coached, from that point to get your first win is a massive hurdle. And I couldn't think of anything smart to say apart from keep playing it until you win. What do you guys think about that?
I have an answer to this, but it's not to the new guy. It's to everyone playing the new guy. And that is play points down. It's real easy. If I'm playing 100 points and I'm playing a new person, put 80 points on the table, something like that. Don't tell the new person you're playing points down. No one likes you to say, I'm going easy on you. And if they're new, they probably don't know how many points your army is anyway, and it's going to feel brutal regardless. The thing that experienced people don't like about playing new players is it feels like a chore for them, in that they're going to win, and they don't feel like they're getting a fulfilling experience out of this, and their medal's not being tested. If you play 20 points down, it'll be a harder game for you. You'll get more out of the game. Your opponent, who's the new person, will get a better chance of winning. It's not an unreasonable thing for you, because part of being good at the game means you kind of win the early trades. And so by playing points down, you kind of simulate that maybe you're not winning the trade, or that the game's going slightly differently. That's my hot tip, is all the experienced people, play points down.
I like that.
That's I think we've all done that when people are learning, like sort of played points down. So we didn't have to go easy mode. We were just at a disadvantage from the start. But I have a bit of a different take. I think at the moment, what's lacking in Warmachine is a ramp. There's not really a format for beginners, Aaron. So at the start of the year in Australia, we ran a tournament that was like a Brawl Machine based tournament in a huge convention in Brisbane that had all the miniature games in it to really showcase Warmachine as a game. And me and Josh Dickinson, a guy who had the same vision as me, I think this question was what we were exploring, which is like, hey, we really want to grow our meta, we really want to ramp in. But exactly how you described it was people's experience, right? Because the people who are still around are pros. They're sharks. They're really good, and they don't want to go easy. They want to play, and they want to play the game. So yeah. So when somebody joins in and they're just not at that level yet, they'll just get trounced. So what we did was I guess use the community driven ramp, which is Brawl Machine, and I really hope that Steam Forge, and I think they sort of mentioned it at the start of the year at one of the big conventions, that they are developing that ramp in those lower points leveled format games that I think might answer that question, Aaron. So for that person who's new, who's like, all right, stop letting me win, I just want to give this a go, I think those lower points games will give them that go, because it doesn't allow a shark. We had a person play in our 50-point beginner tournament called Alex Glavis, who is a very good Warmachine player. And he did rubbish because he was really bad at that points level because he didn't really understand it, and he's used to playing 100 and competitive and thinks about it in a different way. So I'm sure he'll love me saying that he's rubbish at 50 points. So that's how you beat Glavis. You just play him at 50 points. But I think that's sort of what we explored, and it worked really well. The people who were new, they really enjoyed it. They wrapped their heads around the lower points format, and maybe that's what Steam Forge is working towards as well. I hope so, because I love this game, and everyone should play it.
Yeah, absolutely. Lewis, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think these are all really good points. I think like recruitment's a really big part, like Tim's kind of talking about. The best way for a new player to have a competitive game is with another new player, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the other thing that I don't think we're going to overlook as well is that like new players generally, if they are trying to get better, and I think that's a conversation worth having locally. It's like, hey, are you looking to get competitive with this? Is this just a once per fortnight thing that you want to spend a couple of hours doing? Then we might just play Brawl, like that. If you wanted to be playing 100 points, like share your observations with these people, with these new players as well. It's like, hey, I noticed that you were like really playing to scenario. You really made me sweat on this 50mm. Good job. Even if that wasn't a win for them, that's the little win. And I think that's also a good lesson, relatively new to wargaming at large. You're not going to win every game. You might do everything 100% perfectly. You might not win because your dice get you, or there's a 0.5% assassination and someone rolls 16s twice in a row.
Right.
And that's okay, And I think if whatever you can do as a community to like take the teeth out of winning as well, like obviously celebrating it when it does happen, take the teeth out of, I guess like you were kind of saying, Aaron, like the ego of it all. I think that's beneficial as well. Like just make sure we're having fun along the way.
Yeah, I think sharing observations is a great shout. Obviously, immediately after you beat them, don't go, okay, you could have done this better. But maybe a bit of a soft talk, like, okay, great game, like, and then easing like maybe this game, you didn't do this great, but you would be improved if you worked on X, Y, or Z. I think if they're responsive to that, that will really help them. And I think another thing Warmachine that doesn't help is like, it's very black and white, right? There's no 2d6 random charges. You're like, I've got a threat of 10. And you're like, okay, so if you leave someone like, oh, I threat 11, I threat 10. So if you just walk into 10 of them, it's a bit like, oh, so you were going to let me charge you? So it's hard to sort of like play soft without it being very obvious. And I think also it's what, like, I think when you think about 40k or Sigma, right, it's a lot easier to feel like you're like in the game. Like you play 5 turns and say someone scores 30 and someone scores 15. It's like, well, I still scored 15 points. So even though you got doubled points, you were still in it and you were still moving stuff. With Warmachine so black and white and things like assassination, I think it can be that it doesn't help like the initial play experience of trying to feel like you were in it. You know, you played the game and you lost, but there's games that I've played and I've lost and I felt like that was a really great game, and play games that I've lost and felt like I wasn't in it. And I think as a new player, that can not help the experience. Yeah, and I hopefully I think maybe looking at like narrative and maybe Brawl Machine pushing that forward would be really good. I know Brawl Machine is like quite well like received, and you guys have played a bit of it or a lot of it, and that would be really good. We'll get close to wrapping up, but let's end on some final thoughts from each of you. What is the next army you would like to see that isn't announced round robin?
Oh, that's a good question. Isn't announced.
Yeah, so you can't have Deathless, the new Fury Dust faction, or Thornfall, or Kithguard.
Okay. I would love to see them do something with the dwarf guys. What are they called?
The Rule.
Rule.
Rule. I don't know the lore. I'm not a big lore guy. And I think there's some lore where like maybe there's not a lot of rule left or something. But I think the old Rule army is super cool. Like aesthetically, the rules were incredible. Like theming was cool. I think in Mark IV that would be so sick.
Nice. Lewis, how about you? On demand, if you could make an army, what would it be?
Look, I mean, I'm gonna sound like a complete pirate sycophant, but I think the Asitixis Raiders army with all the
Yes.
old jacks would be really cool.
Great shout. Connor.
Convergence.
Nice. But they're already an army. You can't answer that.
Mark IV convergence. Cricks were already an army and they brought them out in Mark IV.
What a fucking shit answer. Okay, I'll allow it. It was terrible. One spell you can delete from the game each. What spell are you deleting? It can be biased. Like I would delete Battle Lust because I fucking hate Dreadguard Cavalry Battle Lust. What would you delete?
I want to go first. I would delete Carnage. I hate the spell Carnage, and I have it, and I cast it. I really hate Carnage.
Nice. That's gone. Battle Lust is gone. Carnage is gone. Lewis, what are you getting rid of?
Tide pool, so they have to give me a different rack spell.
Efficient. Nice. Connor, what are you deleting?
Hear that? What was your answer, Lewis?
Tide pools.
A tide pool. Fuck. I don't know if I've got a good one. I think I really agree with Tim in that Carnage affects such a big area for such I think I go with Carnage.
Nice. Okay, and this will be the last round robin question. But if you could pick a model, so for example, say like Ragemonger, and have Ragemonger 2, who would you like to see evolve into their next form next? I would like Ragemonger 2 in like a humanoid shark form, 80mm shark battle engine, and he's carried on a throne carried by pigs with a frog on his shoulder. Easy.
Fantastic. That's a concept. I think that's a caster already.
I did apply for the digital sculpting team, but they didn't get back to me. I don't know why.
I'm glad you mentioned pigs. I want a pig caster. I think that would be wildly cool. Like just a little pig guy. Maybe he's maybe not in a tank. That'd be boring. But like some
pig,
kind of
right?
A what? Sorry.
Like a pygmy troll.
Sorry, a pygmy troll. Yeah,
not a pharaoh.
Not like Carver. Yeah, they've already done like actual pig casters. No, like a pygmy troll caster.
You could have like a Mr. Boggs 2, Epic Boggs. Is now your leader. I get behind
Boggs
that.
Would be so good.
The other angle I was thinking for that as well is maybe one of Grimm's mates has come on to be like his number 2 is a caster in Brian Blood's maybe.
Great
maybe.
Epic
shout.
crump. Epic crump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Connor, who would you like to
Right.
see evolve?
I'm gonna back Tim's earlier point about Rule, and I'm gonna say Gorton too.
Oh,
Gordon is my
great shout.
name.
Mm.
Excellent shout. That is awesome. Okay, well, we'll probably wrap it up there. A heartfelt thank you to you guys. It has been awesome. It's been great to meet you in digitally and catch up over Warmachine. Yeah, thankful to you guys. I'm really grateful.
No, thanks for the
having
chat.
us.
We'll
Yeah,
say
thanks, Aaron from Dice Down Gaming. That was amazing, and we're gonna have to do it again.
yes, absolutely. Maybe after the Welsh Masters, I can come tell you guys about how I did in the Welsh Masters.
Oh, please do. That's a
No,
perfect
We'll
idea.
interview you, okay?
Nice. That would be great. That's a date.
Right, sounds
Nice.
good.
It's a goodbye from me. And thank you for your time, everyone.